Hey guys, Andy here. I've been using the Xiaomi Mi A3 for about a week now. Usually when I start a Xiaomi review, I explain who they are. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you probably know, but the short version of who Xiaomi are, they're a pretty massive phone manufacturer, but they're more known in the East, not so much in the UK or America. They have launched in the UK last year, but I don't think you can get the Mi A3 on the UK website, but do check when you're watching this video, maybe you can. I paid eGlobal $185 for this one. I think it's coming out to $175 already. So let's just talk about the specs and what you get for, let's call it £180. It's the Snapdragon 665 chipset, which is 11 nanometer. So obviously it's not top end. You pay £180. What do you expect? It's got an octa-core processor. It's got the Adreno 610. It's got 4 gig of RAM. This particular one has got 64 gig of storage, but you can get it with 128 gig of storage for only, I think it's like £20 more. All of that Geekbench is, so with Geekbench 4, it scores about 5,500, which I think is kind of respectable. That's not a bad score really. Other hardware bits, it does have a 3.5mm headphone jack. It's dual SIM. There's no NFC, there's no waterproofing, but I think, you know, what do you expect really at this sort of price? And it has actually got a reasonable speaker. So if I give you a quick demo of that, start off with a bit of my podcast.
Expectations, men often pick up the tab, particularly on a first date. In a pair of online surveys, the researchers asked more than 1,000 women, have you ever agreed to date someone you were not interested in a relationship with because he might pay for it?
It scored 89.7 decibels in my sound test, which is pretty high actually. That's up there in the top 10, I think. For me, in my day-to-day use, I do like listening to podcasts, especially if I'm making breakfast or something. And it's definitely loud enough for that sort of use. Also, phone calls, I actually prefer just put the speaker on, put the phone on the desk, and it sounds pretty good actually. So a pretty good speaker. Let's move on to take a look at the design of the device though. So it comes in 3 colours. Kind of grey, not just blue, and more than white. I do think it's got an amazing looking back. I love the way, is it refracting? I don't know, whether it creates the blues, greens and reds and stuff from the reflection. It's really a beautiful looking back, I think. It feels quite small but comfortable in the hand. It is a little bit slippy. I won't lie, I've been using the case for pretty much all the time I've been using this device, just because it gives me that extra bit of grip and it doesn't really detract from how nice the back looks, and it doesn't really add much to it. It's quite a sort of low profile case. It has, I don't know why, because I'm sure the phone hasn't got an IP rating, sorry, but it's got a flap to go to cover in the power port, which actually is just really quite annoying when you're trying to plug the power in, trying to hold that out of the way and plug the power in. I don't quite know why they did that, to be honest. It is USB Type-C though, as you can see just then. There's an in-display fingerprint sensor, which failed there. It worked there. I don't think it's all that good, if I'm honest. Not that it failed a lot, it didn't. It failed a few times. You saw it just fail there, mind you, not so good with that. With my main thumb, it seems better. And it didn't fail very often unless I was particularly sweaty or something from down the gym. Generally it worked. I just think it's very slow, to the point that actually you kind of almost find yourself waiting literally, right, come on, yeah, right, now I'll get on with it. I mean, it's not ridiculous, but when you're used to how quick some of them can be, that is quite slow. What else? It does have a small notification LED. We're not going to see it right now, I guess, but it's just up in that sort of top bezel in the corner, just kind of a pinhole white. And I've mentioned the case already. The screen itself is only 720p. Now, I know this sort of puts a lot of people off, perhaps, straight away. It really shouldn't. It's an amazing screen. I've turned the brightness down a little bit just because it helps with the... But it's a fantastic screen. Let me put some YouTube on that I was watching earlier. I mean, that is just a fantastic looking screen. So bright, clear. It goes up to, let me check, 638 lumens at its brightest, which is pretty good actually. I mean, it's not 800, 900 that some devices will do, but 600 odd for a £180 phone is pretty good. Obviously we've got the teardrop notch there at the top, which I can kind of live with teardrop notches. I mean, I'm quite used to not having any notch at all, I suppose, recently, but teardrop you can live with. There's a bit of a bezel down the bottom, but not much. It really is a nice screen. It's all protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 5. The colours just look fantastic. Auto brightness has been a little inconsistent for me, although to be fair, it happened at times early on and it's not really given me any troubles later on, or recently I suppose I should say. I don't know if it's YouTube that have problems or this phone, because I have had a little bit of that when I was at the gym earlier. It kept buffering. The only thing that kind of disappointed me, because it's got a AMOLED screen, is why does it not have an always on display? It doesn't. You have to press the power button to get the time and stuff, which I find a little bit disappointing. Also, I don't believe there's even lift to wake or double tap to wake, which if you've not got an always on display, I don't know, personally I think is a bit of an essential thing. So otherwise, nothing. We have to literally press the power button to get the display. So that was a little bit of a disappointment, if I'm honest. So now I'm going to move on to talk about the cameras. I will mention before we start, double press power button will open up the software, which obviously is stock Android. We'll come to software a bit more shortly. But you'll see there are 3 lenses in all. The main one being 48 megapixel f1.8, 48 megapixel in a £108 phone. Interesting. And then there's an 8 megapixel ultra wide f2.2. And I think ultra wide for me is, I don't know if it's kind of given enough praise really. I don't want a phone that doesn't have an ultra wide lens option these days. I'm too used to be able to, I mean, not that I use it a huge amount, but it's just so useful. And then there's a 2 megapixel depth sensor. All lenses, they seem to produce a fairly similar result. You know, it didn't matter which lens you're using, you generally got the same type of image. And generally they were reasonably good shots in good light. There was good detail and colour, they weren't oversaturated. Low light was not so great. It struggled a bit more, there's a bit more noise. And then the night mode, I mean, it's a night mode. It doesn't compare in any way to the big boys, but it wasn't bad. Well, yeah, there's a night mode. One thing that you notice, there is actually a very slow shutter. So if we go back into the camera app, and if you see when I press, that does feel like it's almost a second delay, which is quite slow. Probably one of the slowest shutters I've used, I think, on a phone. The front-facing camera seemed reasonable. There were a couple of pictures I took which I thought it seemed a little overexposed perhaps, but generally it wasn't too bad. Video, it can do up to 4K at 30 frames per second, which is quite good again for a phone of this price, or it can do 1080p at 120 frames per second. The video though seems to be one of one of the phone's weak points. In good conditions it wasn't bad. In fact it was probably sort of okay in good conditions, but it's a little grainy, and actually the focus bounce that you see, I mean, I did a whole other video, please go and watch that if you want to know more about the actual video and the camera performance. But the focus bounce, really quite frustrating. It really lacks video stabilization of any kind, that's very apparent. And low light, it kind of struggled a bit, but again, for this sort of price, I suppose, what are you to expect? If we move over to talk about software, let's just bring up what version. So this is running Android 1. There we go. So Android version 9. Because it is Android 1, in fact, did it tell us when the security... there we go, sorry. Security update 5th of July. We are right now with the 17th of August. So it's a bit behind, but I would imagine I will get the August security patch in the next week or two, because with it being Android 1, it will get regular updates. Generally, I found it quite smooth. No real issues. But at the same time, I guess the slow fingerprint sensor is related to kind of just the power of the device. And generally, although it's not slow, I do notice the difference between this and say my OnePlus 7 Pro, which opens things much, much quicker. So, I mean, it's quite smooth, but you do notice, like I say, with the delay when you have to use your finger on the fingerprint sensor, then I tap, then I open that. It's noticeably slower than my OnePlus. And obviously, I mean, that's really unfair comparison because the OnePlus is a bit of a powerhouse. I just want you to be aware, you're not getting the same performance. I don't quite know why you have this constant notification. Sim 1 is HD capable. Okay, someone let me know in the comments what that means and why it's there. I think it uses networks as well to provide a crisper phone call. There are some nice features in the settings. So screen time notification, let's try and find this one. In the apps and notifications. So we go to screen time. And it gives us various stats of how long you've been using things. Or how much you use things, I suppose, is probably. And I think you can, there we go. So you can set a timer to stop you using something too much, which is quite interesting. If you're a bit of an Instagram addict, you can say, right, I don't want to use it for any more than an hour every day, and then it just won't let you use it afterwards. Triple tap to zoom. Oopsie. And then you have to use two fingers to scroll around. That actually, for someone like me with my ailing eyesight, is actually really handy, although I'd never remembered to use it any time that I couldn't read something. I actually forgot to do the old triple tap. I have had it trigger sometimes when I've been trying to do the thumb sensor, the fingerprint reader. It's triggered and you have to come back out. But just little bits like that. Xiaomi have always been quite good at tweaking and adding into their OS like that. You do get a few bits of bloat, not many, and actually I think because I've already uninstalled them, I think, because you can remove, if you have bloat, you can remove it. So you have to give them the props for that. So yeah, the software experience, really good, because Android One, I mean, why Xiaomi? Why don't you do this more on your other devices? Not Android One necessarily, but the K20 Pro, put stock Android on it, please. So let's move on to the battery though. It's a 4030 milliamp hour LiPo battery on a 720p screen. I think I said in the unboxing, could be interesting, and it is interesting. I'm going to open up AccuBattery because I use this quite a lot now, just to sort of. So I'm on 20% or 21. I haven't charged today. I left it overnight. I charged yesterday morning. Came off charge about 6 in the morning. It's now gone 3 o'clock. I've still got 21% left. And it's telling me combined usage, so screen on and off, I've got 39 hours. That's pretty good. Screen on, 10.5 hours. I mean, I don't use that much. If I left the screen off, 70 hours. It would almost last 3 days if I didn't actually turn the screen on. In my test, it's set a new record. 97%. Amazing. I mean, I think that's 3% clear of anything else. My test is 37 minutes of video, I think. I've got a video that I play all the time, every time. So the test is the same. And then basically I reload Twitter every 30 seconds with an app that does that for me until it gets to the hour marker. When I came off watching the video, so that's about 37 minutes in, and the screen is set to a certain, 300 lumens. So again, we're same across all devices. It was on 99%. I'd been playing a video for 37 minutes. It was on 99%. How does it even do that? I mean, that's not shutting apps down in the background that Xiaomi can sometimes get away with. I mean, this is Android One. They can't be aggressive like that. I mean, I guess it's just a 720p screen with a 4,000 odd milliamp hour battery. 99% after 37 minutes watching a video. Amazing. It also has Quick Charge 3, 18 watts. I charged from 8% to 9% in like an hour and a half. I mean, it slows down a bit at 80%. I think in the first hour I did about 70%, if not a bit more. So pretty good battery-wise. So as with a lot of Xiaomi devices, it looks and it feels much more expensive than it actually is. I think the screen is amazing. People are going to bash it because it's 720p. Ignore that. The screen looks fantastic. It's one of the best screens on a device in this kind of price bracket I think I've seen. The speaker's good, it's plenty loud enough. The battery, I mean, it set a record on my test. What more do you want from it? The battery is good. It's reasonably responsive. I wouldn't even say it's laggy. It's just a little slow at times. Simple as that, really. The stills are okay. The video would be a bit of a concern for me. So I do use the device as my daily, and I've got to say I'm not in a massive hurry to get back to OnePlus. I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to it, but if the video was better and the fingerprint sensor was quicker, I'd probably be alright just cracking on with this, to be honest. I think if you're looking for a device under £200, you've got to consider this. If you're looking for a slightly smaller handset, you've got to consider this. I think it's just so impressive for a £180, £170 device. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, but for now, my name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon. Well done for making it all the way to the end of the video. Please do give it a thumbs up and leave a comment as well. I promise I'll read every single comment on all of my videos, so do leave a comment too. If you haven't already, subscribe, click that bell icon to make sure you're notified anytime I upload something new. Perhaps most importantly, just share my videos, be it social media, be it forums, just put them on live for people to watch. If you want to go that one step further, there are links in the video description to my Patreon and also buy me a coffee. Just a few extra pound a month will help me make more videos. Also, of course, don't forget to check out the other videos on my channel. I'll see you all in the next one.